We're following breaking news out of Utah County tonight, where flames are forcing thousands of evacuations as fire crews struggle to contain the Knowles fire. It's burning west of Utah Lake.
Our crews are on the ground in Saratoga Springs for live team coverage tonight. Fox 13's Bob Evans is with evacuees at Westlake High School.
But we begin with Fox 13's Elle Thomas, who joins us live from the command post there. Elle.
Yeah, hey Brian and Kirsten, this fire started around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Now here we are 8 hours later. This is estimated to have burned more than 2,000 acres. Absolutely no containment. I'm sure you can see why just by looking at my hair right now. We have these crazy, strong, erratic winds and a lot of low visibility. Still, these fire crews are doing their very best to try and get this under control. Dozens of engines, hundreds on the ground, and thousands evacuated.
The fire moved really quickly towards the community.
As flames fall directly behind Saratoga Springs rooftops, the battle rages on.
We'll probably have crews working well into the night.
And so do the winds, with gusts upwards of 57 miles per hour.
It's extremely challenging when you've got visibility issues, you've got the fire behavior itself. A lot of times firefighters can't even get close enough to the flames to be able to go direct or make a direct attack on the fire.
No containment, forcing the evacuation of 3,100 homes.
This is a significant evacuation. It's not worth going home to get anything.
In Saratoga Springs, that's about 13,000 people.
Every year we expect a fire somewhere along that part.
Alex Fenderson is one of them. The flames came right to his property line.
As far as I could see, there were no flames, and then there were flames.
Crews say the cause of the fire has not been determined, and while some homes have been damaged, they don't know if any have been lost. We're told crews will be here throughout the night. It's important to note they had to completely stop any air efforts around 4 o'clock this afternoon because of these strong winds. Tomorrow morning, they're going to reassess and see if they can finally resume their air operations, hopefully get a handle on this. Live in Saratoga Springs, Elle Thomas, Fox 13 News, Utah.
And Elle, we're hearing many are having a tough time with the traffic in that area. What is the city asking residents to do right now?
I mean, obviously we have 13,000 people leaving their houses. That is going to make a lot of congestion. Simple answer here, if you are not evacuated, don't leave your house. If you are evacuated, follow what they're doing, and keep in mind portions of Redwood Road are shut down, so you only have one direction that you can go.
And Elle, one more thing before we let you go. If people want to help right now, is there a need for volunteers or any supplies at this point?
Right now they're saying no, and the city is asking people to go to their social media pages. If the Red Cross decides they need volunteers, supplies, anything, they will be posting it onto the city's social media pages, so you can look there and get updates.
Elle, thank you. We'll check in with you shortly.
And as Elle mentioned, a large part of the city of Saratoga Springs have been evacuated. Take a look at this map here. Everything west of Redwood Road from Grandview Court all the way to the southern boundary of city limits was part of this evacuation. And on the east side of town, residents in Pelican Bay had to evacuate as well.
Many of those evacuees needed to go to Westlake High School, where the American Red Cross has set up a shelter. And that's where we find Fox 13's Bob Evans. He joins us live tonight. Bob?
Brian and Kirsten, this has been an incredibly busy location all afternoon and evening. And as you can tell, the wind is blowing and has been blowing very hard. Hopefully the firefighters 4 miles south of here on the fire lines are not having to deal with this kind of wind. But that's what we've been dealing with here today. As I say, very, very busy with evacuees coming in who happened to be watching the Traverse fire in Lehigh last night, not knowing that today it would be their turn.
It's really tough not being able to go back and, you know, get to your animals that you're so attached to.
It is hard leaving your home at a moment's notice without everything that is important to you.
We got a notice on the phone that we were being evacuated, and so we drove like crazy people to try and get home to get our dogs, which are still in our house, so we're a little worried about them.
But the Knowles fire isn't playing favorites.
We looked out our back window and saw the flames right on the hills right there. We're like, okay, I guess it's time to go.
The Burbanks are from the Northwest, where this kind of thing doesn't happen very often.
Where we come from in the Northwest, fires really aren't quite a thing as much. So this is a little bit new.
Staying COVID compliant, Red Cross and CERT volunteers inside check temperatures and then help with basic needs.
They're able to come in to use the restrooms and to get water and snacks. And then we will take a registration of those who might need motel rooms for the night.
After checking in, they have evacuees stay in the parking lot to social distance. The effort has taken on a two-pronged mission. On top of taking care of evacuees, volunteers are also seeing to the needs of crews on the front lines.
We're going to be taking care of the firefighters and police officers in just about a minute. Utah County VIPS is going to go ahead and start taking rehab up to them.
It has been a busy evening at the evacuation center, and while the tense moments tick away in the parking lot, the Taylors got some good news.
Yeah, my husband was able to get the dogs and the cat we have, so
It's good
yay!
Yeah, some very good news for the Taylor family. They were able to get their animals out, and hopefully there will be similar stories like that being able to be told in connection with the Knowles fire, people getting their valuables and their animals out of the house. For now, we're live in Saratoga Springs at Westlake High School and the evacuation center. Bob Evans, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, Bob, thank you. And Breck Bolton keeping a close eye on the conditions in that area. Breck, crews finally did get some help from Mother Nature just within the last hour or so.
Yeah, earlier on, the cold front moving through, helping to give, at least with some of the conditions, some improvements in that. Temperatures have been dropping, humidity on its way up. But we're not out of the woods quite yet. Let's take a look at those current conditions. Again, near the fire, we're finding winds out of the north-northeast at 23 miles per hour. So wind strength still there, a persistent breeze. Now, earlier on, the winds were out of the southwest. As they change to the north, they're not tracking over the exact same aerial coverage, but again, seeing a little bit of improvement there. And again, the humidity is up as well, where earlier on, humidity levels were anywhere between 10 to 15%. Of course, with strong winds, dry conditions, that's a little bit of a bigger concern. We definitely could use some rain. Rain has been close to the area, but not so much. Just want to give you a quick update on the Traverse fire. Looks like winds are calm right now. Humidity also improving there. Now let's take a look. Winds all across the Wasatch Front. The wind direction out of the northwest, where the front has moved all the way through Utah County, now positioning itself through central Utah, as we're still holding on to some strong winds across the west central, southwestern Utah, where we can find winds and wind gusts in excess of 35 miles per hour. Here's the position of the front. One thing that I wish wasn't the case is that we're seeing the rain showers kind of retreat as this cold front begins to tilt just a little bit. So you're seeing the rain all through Box Elder, Tooele County, not so much along the Wasatch Front currently. But that front and colder air moving through, which will push the moisture back into the region, and the potential for some rain will be there as we progress throughout the evening. Let's time it out for you, though. As we look at our computer models, have the clock here tonight. Let's push it up until midnight. Still those showers at bay, pushing through Tooele County, not so much as we look towards the southern end of the Wasatch Front. Once we go from midnight, as we move up until about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, finally the rain begins to fall, and then we'll push through, as you can see, down through Utah County and tracking through the morning hours up until about noon. So the rain will get there. It's just we'll have to contend still with some strong winds up until then. But again, with the humidity going up, we are seeing some improvement, so not out of the woods. We'll get there. We just have to wait for a few more hours before we get that needed moisture to really douse out the fires.
Not one, but two fires that forced Utah County residents to evacuate this weekend. The Traverse fire forced dozens of people from their homes in the middle of the night, Saturday into Sunday. It grew to nearly 450 acres. The fire is about 25% contained.
Those evacuation orders have since been lifted, but Fox 13's Spencer Joseph spoke with residents who nearly lost their homes.
Here on the Traverse fire, there are still a few hot spots, but things looking much better than they did last night. But just taking in the mountainside, you could see just how many homes were right in the path of this fire.
Lehigh Fire, they asked us to clear out an area. I'll give you the street.
Firefighters have been fantastic, working late last night and all the way through the morning.
through those adverse weather conditions with the wind and strong fire behavior, very active fire behavior.
Firefighters stood their ground against the Traverse fire since its start late Saturday night. Because of them, not a single home was lost.
Let's get everybody off of that hill. Let's get them behind the houses for some protection.
So engines and crews stationed around homes point protection around those specific structures.
For those evacuating in the early morning hours, a lot was going through their minds.
You have to trust the folks fighting it, but it's incredibly nerve-wracking.
As night turned to day, the fight switched from the ground to the air, dropping retardant and water to slow the fire's spread.
They also are kind of a set of eyes, an aerial view, so we get a better overview of the fire. We can see active fire behavior.
Rain in the area also helped douse the flames. For those watching the fire from nearby, they were certain this fire was going to take a turn for the worse.
I'm shocked that no houses have been destroyed. I mean, that was a miracle to me.
Crews are still worried about high winds in the area, but they are confident they now have things under control.
I mean, hats off to the firefighters. That's awesome. That's really awesome.
A lot of crews are still stationed here on the Traverse fire, but even more have been transferred off to the Knowles fire across the valley. You can see all the smoke in the air, and right now the structure protection efforts are happening there. Of course, we'll keep you updated on all of these fires on air and online at fox13now.com. In Lehigh, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Governor Gary Herbert thanking fire crews for their efforts today. In a news conference this afternoon, he asked everyone to be more careful.
This is the time to not fool around. We got too many lives at danger and structures and personal property. So again, we thank the work that's been done here by our first responders. They've done a great job, and it really is a miracle that we haven't lost some structures here today.
Taking him to Millard County now, the Canal Fire there is now also forcing evacuations. People living in Leamington and the Fools Creek area are being told to leave. We're told that the flames jumped existing fire lines and are now burning out of control once again. Crews working on the containment there.
Strong winds could cause more problems for crews battling a wildfire near the Utah-Arizona border. The Wire Pass fire has already burned about 1,500 acres in Kane County. It started burning near the Wire Pass trailhead. Now, we're told fire activity was minimal overnight and throughout the day. The Wire Pass trailhead remains closed along with the Buckskin Trail and the Wave.
Stick with Fox 13 as we continue to track these fires all across the state. We'll have the latest updates throughout this newscast online, and join us on Good Day Utah tomorrow starting at 4:30 a.m. for live team coverage.
Well, still to come, a lot more ahead here on Fox 13 News at 9. Protests today over a man shot and killed by Saratoga Springs police 6 years ago. Hear about the renewed call for justice in the Darian Hunt case.
And fireworks being blamed for 2 wildfires this weekend. Now experts have a stern warning as we approach the 4th of July.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
And welcome back. Community activists participating in a die-in rally in Saratoga Springs this morning, hoping to draw attention to the death of Darian Hunt nearly 6 years later. The early morning rally outside Saratoga Springs Police Department drew a small crowd with a loud message. They want to see Hunt's case reopened. It was back in September of 2014 when 22-year-old Darian Hunt was confronted by police after a passerby called 911 to report a man with a samurai sword walking on Redwood Road. Saratoga Springs police fired several shots after they say Hunt swung the sword at them. But Hunt's family says he was costume role-playing as a cartoon character and that the sword was not a weapon, but an accessory with a rounded blade. Those at today's rally held similar swords.
Today was just a rally to apologize to the Hunt family. It wasn't really a message to anyone. It was just to let the Hunt family know that we see them and we're sorry we weren't there for them.
The shooting was ruled justified, but a petition calling for a second look at that case has received more than 300,000 signatures.
A welfare check led police to finding a body at a Midvale apartment complex this morning. Unified Police telling us someone called in because of an odor at this complex near 7400 South State Street. Police finding a decomposed body there, but they say they're not sure if it's male or female. They're investigating the cause, but at this point, they don't believe it's suspicious. Right now, UDOT crews have closed both directions of I-15 in Layton once again for construction. The freeway is closed between Layton Parkway and Antelope Drive while crews demolish the Gentile Street Bridge. The detour is marked on your screen. Now, the freeway should reopen by 5 a.m. tomorrow.
All right, well, Breck Bolton has been busy in the Weather Center tonight, keeping a track of Mother Nature and what she's doing all across our state, as many are just keeping a close eye on conditions out there, Breck.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a busy day. Started this morning, of course, with the Traverse fire. Now we're dealing with the Knowles fire, and of course, other fires that are burning throughout Miller, Beaver County, and even further south. But today, it was the winds fanning these flames, strong wind gusts coming in. You can see it, Eureka. A report of 84-mile-per-hour winds, Vernon Hill in that same range there. Delta, close to 60-mile-per-hour winds, even down through St. George, near 60-mile-per-hour winds. Even along the Wasatch Front, some locations finding wind gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour. And they continue to howl, particularly across southwestern Utah, where the front hasn't moved through yet. You can tell by the wind direction. Look from Ogden all the way through Provo, that wind direction out of the northwest. Also in Delta, the front moving there. Not yet in Milford, where we're still finding southwest winds through Cedar City, Page as well, Bryce, Canyon. Overnight, we'll find that front moving throughout the rest of the state and tracking again as we look towards tomorrow afternoon. But behind the front, boy, temperatures dropped quickly. Right now, we're in the 50s from Logan all the way through Salt Lake City, 60s in Provo, as I mentioned in Delta, that front moving through. But still ahead of that front, we're finding temperatures 70s, 80s, even 90s in St. George. But all in all, statewide, we're definitely going to be noticing temperatures cooler come tomorrow. But already noticing that across northern Utah, where temperatures 30 degrees colder in contrast at the same hour last night. Gripping and getting ready that by tomorrow, we're going to be experiencing April-like weather rather than here the last week of June. Now, fire weather warnings still in place. Red flag warnings that have been impacting both northwestern, southwestern, southeastern Utah. High wind warnings that are in effect. Now, they were going to expire at 9 o'clock, but they've been extended until midnight as we continue to see those winds. And once the front moves through, we're still finding gusty winds, 20 to 30 miles per hour. That's why it's still a concern as we've been looking at that Knowles fire in Saratoga Springs or near there as we continue to find winds, 20, 30 miles per hour, even some stronger wind gusts than that. Now, looking ahead as we focus in on the winds, our computer model showing, but by tonight, things really do improve, except overnight, we can still hold on to some strong winds, 15 to 20 miles per hour. And again, just a persistent breeze does not help out the situation. They kind of calm down throughout the day tomorrow, except southeastern Utah will be hanging on to that red flag warning, impacting areas such as Green River, Moab, down through Blanding, probably also near Kanab as well. But by tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, statewide, a lot of improvement. There's the cold front. This is what's been stirring up things here throughout the day. And associated with that cold front, we are seeing a line of showers, even some embedded thunderstorms. This moisture is needed, of course, to help out the fire situation, but also bring much needed watering there for the lawns. And of course, throughout the foothills as we have dry conditions. Right now, though, we're not seeing the showers impacting the southern Wasatch Front, where we need the rain to help out with the fires. It gets there. It's just going to take a little time. By tomorrow morning, those showers will track through. And let's confirm that as we take a look, once again, focusing now on the precipitation. As I move the clock here tonight, overnight, those showers tracking through the central Wasatch Front, Tooele County, and then finally through Utah County early Monday morning. We're going to see more widespread precipitation come tomorrow morning, but throughout the afternoon, it comes more scattered, as we'll see scattered showers tomorrow afternoon, and then also a chance of maybe some isolated showers on Tuesday afternoon. But for most of the state, we dry out, winds die off, but it's going to be cool for the next couple of days with temperatures well below normal. Overnight, we're in the 40s across northern Utah, 40s through central Utah as well. Winds begin to die off, except across southeastern Utah. Look at these highs tomorrow. 60s, 70s in Milford, only 80s in St. George. Chance of precipitation, well, it's fairly non-existent there, at least in St. George, but it's 80s, back into the 90s. We keep it dry and sunny. Heading into the holiday weekend, we return to the triple digits. Northern Utah, 60s with that chance of rain, mainly in the morning, scattered and isolated isolated showers Monday afternoon, Tuesday as well. We get back into the 70s, then back into the 80s, tracking towards the 90s, heading into the 4th of July. Once we get past Tuesday afternoon, we really push away the moisture and we will heat things up and return to summer. But again, for the next couple of days, it's definitely spring.
For our medics to show up and our officers to show up on scene, our deputies, and to treat him, you can imagine the burden, the emotional burden that places on them and the trauma that they went through.
He spent decades saving others, and now he's fighting for his life after a plane crash. Tonight, deputies detail the moments they found out their friend was in a horrific accident.
The state of Utah is reporting 472 more coronavirus cases today. That brings the statewide total to 21,100. It's an increase of 2.3% since yesterday. 31 more people are now in the hospital. There are no new deaths to report. Here's a reminder, because of Utah's growing case numbers, Intermountain Healthcare will have stricter rules for hospital visitors starting tomorrow. No visitors will be allowed except under certain circumstances. For example, children, mothers in labor, and patients at the end of life can have limited visitors. We have more specific information on our website, fox13now.com.
New tonight, we're learning more about the sole survivor of a deadly plane crash in Centerville and why, for those at the Davis County Sheriff's Office, this hit too close to home.
It's been tough and hard on our guys for sure.
A fiery plane crash off Legacy Parkway, right near the Davis County Sheriff's Office.
Our deputies responded to the scene. There were 2 victims in the plane crash who had been pulled by bystanders.
One of the passengers was so badly burned that deputies didn't recognize he was one of their own.
For our medics to show up and our officers to show up on scene, our deputies, and to treat him, you can imagine the burden, the emotional burden that places on them and the trauma that they went through.
Just pulled from the fiery wreckage, they heard the man's voice for the first time. And that's when deputies realized they were saving Jason Sorensen, a recently retired lieutenant who worked by their side for more than 20 years.
It's tough. I'll tell you what, it's tough looking at deputies work on one of their close friends, mentors, and coworkers who've been in a severe accident.
Deputies called for a medical helicopter. Intermountain's Life Flight responded, an agency that Sorensen also worked for as a hoist paramedic and pilot for 15 years.
The medic working Life Flight that day also is a Davis County Sheriff's deputy and close friend to Deputy Sorensen.
And as Sorensen was in the ICU, Davis County Sheriff's deputies had to tell his wife and 2 children about the crash.
His family has been very strong, stronger than I don't know that I could be that strong in an incident like this.
Both of Sorensen's legs had to be amputated from the knee down, and he has endured numerous surgeries, now facing a long and painful road.
We're fighting for Jason. We all want him to have a recovery and to heal.
Sorensen is now in the ICU at the University of Utah's Burn Center. If you would like to help him and his family, we'll show you how on fox13now.com. Now, the FAA responded to the crash shortly after it happened on Thursday, and they are now investigating.
Still ahead, we continue to follow breaking news tonight in Utah County. The Knowles Fire continuing to burn, forcing thousands of residents in Saratoga Springs to evacuate. Live team coverage on Fox 13 News at 9 continues right after this. This video just into our newsroom tonight. Incredible shots from firefighters out on the front lines of the Knowles Fire in Saratoga Springs, showing just how close those flames got to nearby homes.
Unreal video there, and we now know several homes have been damaged and thousands are forced to evacuate. Now, those who have been forced to evacuate have been sent to Westlake High School, and that's where the American Red Cross has set up a shelter.
That's also where we find Fox 13's Bob Evans, who joins us live tonight. Bob?
Brian and Kirsten, I'm standing in front of the community response. Earlier this evening, the word went out over social media and elsewhere that supplies were needed, not just for the evacuees, but for the crews on the front line. In fact, we've got peanut butter sandwiches in here, we've got pastries and crackers, we've got snacks here, we've got canned goods here, we've got baby diapers and baby wipes, blankets, personal care items, and of course, lots and lots of water. Joining me now is Rick Scott, who is the liaison, the volunteer liaison for Saratoga Springs. Tell me about this community response.
It's been great, Bob. So basically, Chief Campbell made the phone call. We got on Facebook, and then these people here made it happen. So we had 11 vendors, Walmart, Domino's Pizza, Caesar's Pizza, Taco Bell, even Linden's Home Depot donated. And then the community just came forward. We were able to go ahead and manage this scene, and then we have another one for the first responders down at the other station. So we were able to accommodate both civilians as well as our first responders.
This is incredible, and I guess only in Utah. Do you still need items, or do you have enough?
No, we reached out to on Facebook to stop right now so that we can reorganize, recalculate, as you want to use that word, to see where we're at. But right now we've stopped, and then we'll see what kind of more relief we need.
How many evacuees served today here at this center?
So we had 117 that we supported directly, and then the American Red Cross put 27 rooms, people in 27 different rooms in local hotels.
Any idea how long your services are going to be needed for these evacuees?
We're going to stay open all night until I have the direction from Chief Campbell, but we're going to go ahead and man this all night, and I have 6 volunteers that will be here tonight.
Okay, Rick Scott, thank you so much. So, as you heard, Rick Scott, the liaison, talking about this incredible community response here at the Knowles Fire. It happens here in Utah all the time. No more supplies needed for now. If they do need more supplies, they'll put out the word on social media. Live in Saratoga Springs, Bob Evans, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Amazing to see the outpouring of support, Bob. Thank you.
Let's check back in with Fox 13's Elle Thomas, who's been stationed at the Fire Crews Command Post in Saratoga Springs. Elle?
Yeah, hey, Brian and Kirsten. So just an update. The fire is estimated to be over 2,000 acres. Still absolutely no containment. We have a couple of hundred firefighters from all over that are here to help in these efforts. You can see some of them stationed right here behind me. They're continuing to work really hard against this, but they have two things working very hard against them. That is the wind and low visibility. The fire started around 1 o'clock this afternoon near the Knowles area just west of Utah Lake. Crews say wind upwards of 57 miles per hour quickly moved it towards homes, prompting the evacuation of 3,100 houses. In Saratoga Springs, that's about 13,000 people. Now, those winds also put a halt to air operations, making it difficult for crews to make progress in containing it.
It's extremely challenging when you've got visibility issues, you've got the fire behavior itself. A lot of times firefighters can't even get close enough to the flames to be able to go direct or make a direct attack on the fire.
We're told the cause of the fire has not been determined, and some homes have been damaged. However, it's unknown if any homes have been lost at this point. Crews will be here throughout the night. Come tomorrow morning, they're going to reassess and see if they're able to reinstate those air operations. As for the evacuations, no timeline right now. Really is just at the mercy of the fire. We did hear more from the city spokesperson not too long ago, though. He says they are working on a plan in order to get everybody back into their houses when that time comes. Live in Saratoga Springs, Elle Thomas, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Tough situation out there, Elle. Thank you. Now, the other fire that forced evacuations in Utah County just today, the Traverse Fire, we now know was sparked by fireworks. And as we've been reporting, fireworks aren't even legal until Thursday.
Fox 13's John Franke has a closer look at the rules and why firefighters say sometimes just following the rules is not enough.
Cities and counties in Utah can restrict where fireworks are set off. Here in Lehi, they're banned north of Timpanogos Highway. Seeing the damage investigators say was caused by a firework, you can understand why.
All because somebody was using fireworks.
All of these flames
caused a lot of people a long sleepless night.
All of the fear residents felt as they were forced to evacuate and then helplessly watch.
This thing was explosive.
Investigators say all of this was caused by a firework.
We felt like we'd done a really good job of letting our citizens know and helping them understand the dangers.
Utah's firework regulations were amended in 2018 when the governor signed into law House Bill 38. It limits firework usage to July 2nd through the 5th, July 22nd through the 25th, New Year's Eve, and Chinese New Year. It also states anyone who violates the law could be hit with a $1,000 fine, plus be on the hook for the cost to fight any fire started by the firework and the damages caused.
This fire speaks for itself as a warning of how dangerous fireworks can be in the wrong location and under the wrong conditions.
This alleged firework use broke 2 regulations. It fell outside the July 2nd to 5th date range, and it happened in a restricted area. But even if it was allowed under the law, the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land says people must use common sense and hold off if conditions like wind increase fire danger.
As we approach that July 2nd and July 5th, the time frame where fireworks are allowed in certain areas throughout the state, it's really important to remember that doesn't mean that they should be used, even though they are allowed.
Utah's in the middle of an already active fire season. More mishaps in judgment, like the one Saturday night, could be disastrous.
It's really crucial that the public does their part to prevent human-caused fires. At any cost, we need to be reducing those numbers significantly because our fire weather conditions are only going to worsen here in the next few weeks.
House Bill 38 prevents a statewide ban on fireworks. The Utah Department of Public Safety has compiled a list of all the areas where fireworks are restricted. We have a link to that on our website. In Lehi, Sean Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, we're 2 days out from Utah's Republican primary. We ask the GOP candidates for governor how they would have handled the COVID-19 pandemic and their vision for Utah if they're elected.
Well, after winning over $10 million during a 13-year professional career as a golfer, Farmington's Daniel Summerhays announced he would retire and return to Davis High School to become a teacher and the Darts head golf coach. But first, one more tournament to play. This week's Utah Championship on his home course at Oak Ridge Country Club. With his family cheering him on from outside the gate, Summerhays played great. Started the day 6 shots back, but after this eagle putt at the par 5 15th, he was in contention in the lead. He kept it rolling on the next few holes. Birdie putt at number 16. It also goes on. He was on top of the leaderboard at 20 under par. The cheers kept coming. Then at 17, Danny with another nice putt for birdie. Got into 10 under par for the day, 21 under for the tournament. He had a 3-shot lead going into the final hole. He needed this putt for par on the 18th hole to shoot a 61. Just came up short. He had to settle for bogey, but it was still an incredible round. 8 birdies, 1 eagle for a 9 under par 62 to take the clubhouse lead at 20 under par. That got him into a 3-player playoff, but it was Kyle Jones that won the tournament. This birdie putt on the second playoff hole. But what a great final round by Summerhays.
There were 2 or 3 times today when, I kind of had to choke back some emotion, especially walking to number 15 green. And my wife and kids popped out from behind the fence back behind there. And then to make an eagle putt there, it was just like goosebumps, walking up after this 18th hole and everybody clapping. And I still have the goosebumps just thinking about it. And it's nice to kind of go out on my own terms.
It's time for you to shine. Here's another round of highlights from home. They're having some fun at the Christensen house. Look at all those water balloons in the pool. And Big Sister takes dead aim on her little brother. Titan Nielsen entered this video into a contest for the Utah Force, and it was the winner. Nice shot. Janae Goodman said in this video of her daughter showing off her tumbling and dancing moves on the trampoline. And here's Quade Sorensen from Washington with a double tail whip. If you want to be on highlights from home, send your videos to sports@fox13now.com. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being with us. There are just 2 days left before the Republican primaries here in Utah.
Well, according to the Lieutenant Governor's office, more than 300,000 ballots have already been processed as of Friday morning.
Fox 13's Aaron Cox spoke with each of the candidates for governor. Take a listen.
4 candidates may all be Republican, but they all differ in their vision for the state. I also asked them if they had been governor during this pandemic, what were the things they would have done differently? This is what I learned.
We've decided to run for governor.
Spencer Cox has served as a city councilman, mayor, county commissioner, and state representative. He was a clerk for a U.S. district judge before moving home to manage the Cox family's telecommunications company. His running mate is Utah State Senator Deidre Henderson. When asked what his vision is for Utah's next 4 years, Cox emphasized the importance of education.
Making sure that we are getting our best and brightest into the teaching profession, making sure that we can restore the joy of teaching to the classroom, and making sure that we have a world-class education system. That's going to solve so many of our problems going forward. We can get everything else right, and if we blow education up or get it wrong, it's not going to matter.
Cox was put in charge of the state's task force to handle the COVID-19 pandemic. He reflected on this role.
We made some changes in this special session last week, trying to figure out mistakes of the past and make them right. And we will continue to do that moving forward. And I truly believe that Utah can come out of this crisis into an even better place, that we will emerge stronger and more resilient and more connected than ever before. And that's my goal as governor, is to help bring people together in a way that leads the state to a better place.
Utah needs leadership.
Thomas Wright has served as the Utah Republican Party chairman and the Salt Lake County Republican Party chairman. He has also been involved in the community, including the Utah Debate Commission, the Utah Opera, and the Utah State Board of Regents. Outside of politics, Wright is a Park City real estate broker. His running mate is outgoing Congressman Rob Bishop. So what is Wright's vision for the state's highest office?
Our long-term priority needs to be our public education system. Utah is the greatest state in the country, not because our government has been great at managing us. It's the greatest state in the country because we have the greatest citizens and we have an unbelievable quality of life. And that's why businesses come here. We need to continue to invest in our children. They're our greatest resource, and we need to make sure that they're ready to compete in a global marketplace, and that will continue to put Utah on top.
Would Wright change how anything has been handled during the pandemic? He says no.
While the government is well-intended, at the end of the day, government mandates aren't going to help us get through the pandemic. Personal responsibility, informing citizens and asking them to do the right thing will always be more effective than trying to compel or mandate people to do things. So it's been a real reminder to me about the need for every citizen, myself included, to operate at a really high level of personal responsibility.
We live in one of the fastest growing states in the nation.
Greg Hughes is a former Speaker of the House and a real estate developer. He served in the Utah House of Representatives for 15 years before leaving at the end of 2018. His community involvement includes the UTA Board of Trustees, Lone Peak Hospital Board of Directors, and the Children's Museum. Hughes is running with Victor Iverson, the current Washington County Commissioner. He says his goal as governor is to help Utah's economy with an emphasis on rural counties.
We're going to see infrastructure investment as a state working with these counties outside the Wasatch Front. Water, roads, rail, fiber optics. We're going to bring those resources and that infrastructure to the rest of the state so that the rest of the state can grow. So young people can stay in the communities they grew up in, and it can even be a relief valve for a crowded Wasatch Front where congestion, failure, and transportation is getting worse every day. Cost of housing, because we have a scarcity of housing, is getting more expensive. We can alleviate those things as we see the whole state begin to grow.
What would Hughes have done differently during the pandemic if he was governor?
Saying that the Home Depot hardware store is essential and the locally owned True Value hardware store has to close and their employees have to go home. And when the state starts picking winners and losers and making such decisions like that, you start to dig a hole, and it's a scary way to do it. We're watching I think our constitutionally protected liberties being infringed upon.
We're going to have to be the very best we can be.
John Huntsman Jr. most recently served as U.S. Ambassador to Russia. Before that, he was the U.S. Ambassador to China, to Singapore, as well as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Asia and the U.S. Trade Ambassador. Huntsman has also had various leadership capacities in Huntsman Corporation and has served as chairman of the Huntsman Cancer Foundation and chairman of the Atlantic Council. He served as Utah's 16th governor. His running mate is current Provo City Mayor Michelle Kaufusi. Huntsman's goal, if elected as governor, is to double the state's gross domestic product.
I see this as a once-per-century opportunity for Utah to build beyond just what it has in its own natural entrepreneurship and innovation. So when I say this state can double its output That's my goal over the next 10 years.
What would Huntsman have done differently during the pandemic?
Drawing down from the rainy day fund to support small businesses, which was not done. And my argument for that was the people who are going to be laid off and unemployed will have introduced into their homes and lives a sense of despair, without a job, without the means by which they can pay their obligations. And there isn't a reason that we should go through that to the extent that we did. With $1 billion in the rainy day fund, I was calling for $300 million being taken out to use as working capital lines of credit.
The Republican primary is Tuesday, June 30th. From Capitol Hill, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Okay, Bragg fire crew is dealing with the strong winds all day. Are we even close to being out of the woods?
We're getting there. We're still finding some persistent breezes in the region where we're seeing those fires. Of course, the Knowles fire in Saratoga Springs, cold front moving through. Quickly, I want to just share a photo. This is a comparison from last year to this year up in Twin Peaks, Michael Bowman setting. This is the reason why I want to share this as well. We're going to see snow in the mountains tonight. Snow levels dropping down to about 7,000 feet. So if you're traveling in areas such as Spanish Fort Canyon, maybe Parley Summit, any of the higher terrain, Mirror Lake Highway, you can encounter snow tomorrow morning. But notice conditions. We had still several inches last year with a cool June, wet season. Of course, it's been dry as we're looking at less precipitation, less snowpack, and that set up the scene here today with a combination with the low humidity as well as these winds. Boy, it was just a perfect storm where we did not want to spark any fires. Now, the cold front has moved through most of northern into central Utah. Wind direction has changed, but take a look at some of these winds. Still persistent winds, anywhere between 20 to 25, upwards of 30 miles per hour. So you can see in Utah County, 31 miles per hour, but we're seeing those cooler temperatures. But let's go back again looking at the situation near Saratoga Springs where current winds out of the northeast at 20 miles per hour. We'll continue to see those winds here for the next 3 or 4 hours, then things improve. We definitely are finding conditions improving in the Traverse Fire area. So we're definitely on our way. We could use some rain right now as we're seeing some rain, well, north into northern Wasatch Front through Box Elder County. Now, still some strong winds across west central, southwestern Utah where we still have high wind warnings in place in that region. Red flag warnings still as we look near the fires that are burning right now. And of course, the other fires in Beaver and Miller counties. And as we transition to tomorrow, southeastern Utah will be hanging on to some strong winds as well. So by tomorrow afternoon into Tuesday, wind-wise, we'll be good to go. Now let's talk about the possibility of rain. That definitely would help things out. We haven't seen much across the Wasatch Front so far. Tooele County, different story. Leaks in Provo just a little bit. Now as we go throughout tonight through tomorrow, and especially as we move in from about 3 a.m. to about 9 a.m., we'll start to see more rain that'll be pushing through and again dropping those snow levels. You can see decent amount of precipitation in Tooele. As we move throughout the morning into the afternoon, we start to see additional rainfall. Now looking at Provo, it's about 1/10 of an inch, at least projections are in that range, as we'll see additional rain tracking through with some scattered thunderstorms come Monday into Tuesday. All in all, I wish we could see a little bit more, at least the focus in Utah County with some more precipitation, but we'll get some here in the early morning hours as this cold front continues to track southward, where right now we're seeing heavy rain as you look, particularly in Box Elder County, so from Snowville down through Tremont, which will push over towards Cache Valley, and then make its move for the rest of the Wasatch Front as we go throughout the evening into the early morning hours. But right now, it is dry throughout most of the Salt Lake Valley, down through Utah County, and of course near Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs. We're not getting the rain right now, but we're also not seeing threatening isolated thunderstorms which could kick up the winds in that region. That is not the case. These are winds due to the front moving through. So expect to see this moisture to make its move southward. And let's take a look at your hour-by-hour forecast then for the Wasatch Front. It's rain as we start off your Monday morning. Could see some wet roads for sure as you're making your morning commute. Improvements heading into the afternoon, but look at those temperatures. It's going to be cool with 60s for many locations, 50s up in Park City. It looks like just a slight chance of maybe a shower in Cedar City with highs, at least in Cedar City, only get up into the 60s. 80s, though, in St. George. And then we're back into the 90s. We keep it dry. We're hanging on the winds at least through tomorrow morning. Then we'll see some improvements. Northern Utah, 60s to 70s to 80s. Back into the 90s for the weekend. But for the next couple of days, we're going to be experiencing April and May temperatures. But we return to summer as we head into the holiday weekend. We'll be back right after the break.
Before we say goodnight, let's take another look at the latest information on the Knowles fire that's burning in Saratoga Springs. Right now, more than 13,000 Saratoga Springs residents are evacuated, and the mayor has declared a local emergency to help get the fire under control. It all started around 2 this afternoon and has burned an estimated 2,000 acres. Those who are evacuated can take shelter at Westlake High School. Some homes have been damaged. The cause is still under investigation, and fire crews expect to be out through the night working to gain control on this fire.
Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9.
QuickCast is coming up next.